Welcome back. We're glad you're back. Glad I'm back. We're all back. Yay. Episode 103 of Countdown to Restoration. As we count down the evil days of the Biden regime, ladies and gentlemen, we will get back to normal. We will. We will leave the horrors of this soon. And if it was 4 years from now, it won't be soon enough, will it? All right, we're going to have a different show today. I don't know how to do it exactly, as we will be discussing the thief in chief. Yeah, the thief in chief. Yeah, never gets old, does it? All right, bye, buddy. Who is the thief in chief right now, as I speak, is giving a speech on crime prevention and curbing gun violence, because the rise in crime has nothing to do with everybody's attitude toward policing now. It just has to do with guns. That's it. And not enough summer jobs, even though people are begging for help. But okay, got to have something for the pretend president to do. But today we will be starting our God formation segment very quick, because have a lot. May take over the whole show, and if not, I got plenty to cover it up with. But let's start, as we always do, the poster child for the Biden regime. Take it away, Doc.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Rachel Levine.
Yeah, Dr. Rachel Levine. Yeah, you get to hear him speak. Yeah, he's got that, I don't know what kind of voice he's got. Anyway. All right, so we've got some Tavares for the good doc. Won't let me have two videos up at the same time for some reason, so we will still post his picture. Okay, no, I don't know what the heck I'm doing when I'm dancing. All right, I'm just having fun. Hopefully you're having fun. Why not? It's a fun day. You're alive, aren't you? Yeah, you're not? Oh, well, I don't know how they count that in the ratings then. All right. Brett Farve, former Packer and Minnesota Viking great, also played with the Atlanta Falcons, who probably kicked themselves a million times, not only hiring Jerry Glanville as head coach, but not keeping Brett around. Brett Favre says transgender athletes shouldn't be allowed to compete in Olympics as women, unless, of course, they are birth women. But the transgender athletes who are birth women, cisgender women, or, well, not cisgender, that's people who still want to be what they were born. They would be competing as men. So anyway, you get the picture. Unfortunately, you do get the picture. And so I'm sure he is not making a lot of people happy on his podcast. He just kind of laid the record straight. Brett Favre spoke out against multiple transgender Olympic athletes on his podcast. Favre said transgender athletes competing in women's sports was unfair to other women. He cited weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, who will be the first openly transgender Olympic athlete, female weightlifter from New Zealand, or competing as a female weightlifter, a male weightlifter pretending to be a woman. Brett Favre says he doesn't think it's fair for transgender athletes to compete in the Olympics as women. The Hall of Fame NFL quarterback on Tuesday spoke out against multiple athletes competing in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics during his podcast, Rolling with Farve. Give him a little shout out there. Way to go, Brett. Yeah. The good doc does not like it at all. Neither do these people. Oh, come on. Thank you. Neither do these people, Secular Dems of America at seculardems.org. Please go find out what you're up against. They are very organized and very powerful in our government. And of course, they will like this because they love abortion. Judge permanently blocks Iowa law mandating 24-hour abortion waiting period. Now, this is just bizarre that you can't even have someone wait 24 hours, and that is an attack on their non-existent right, non-stated right, not even implied in the Constitution, just a contrived right. They can't be asked to wait 24 hours to put that person's life out of existence, to murder that person within their womb. They can't be asked to wait 24 hours to reconsider. And yet we have a stated right called the Second Amendment in which you have to wait 3 days to get a purchase. Why? Why would you have to wait 3 days? It's a cooling off period. I mean, they do the background check, but that could be instantaneous. We have the technology. Come on. No, it's a cooling off period. So if you're buying a gun to go kill someone, you'll cool off. Yeah. 72 hours on that. Can't even wait 24 hours on this. We have a sick society. A lot of sick judges. A lot of sick people. Yeah, I said it, sick, but not with a fever. Just sick. All right, what do we have here? On voter rights, a little, the Senate, the GOP filibustered the For the People Act, which is only for the Democratic politicians, because nobody is stopping anyone from voting. Find me one of the new laws where it's going to keep anybody from voting. Please do. And I don't mean make it so they have to show up or make it so they don't have 400 days to vote. I mean, that will prevent anyone from voting. All right? Try to find that. Okay? All right. But we have a question and a non-answer.
One question on voting rights. We've been kind of talking to a lot of voting rights and civil rights activists who are saying that the president isn't just simply doing enough on the issue and is betraying black voters who actually helped him get into the office by not doing absolutely everything he can. And he's instead spending his time negotiating infrastructure with Republicans. How would you respond to that criticism?
Who's saying that?
A lot of civil rights activists and voting activists.
Like who?
We've spoken to several groups and outfits. I mean, I can reach out to you with names after the briefing.
Sure. That sounds good. Okay, go ahead.
Jen's little dismissive thing. I have told you, White House press group. You can't just say groups. You have to have specific groups or she won't speak to it. You have to have people or she won't speak to it. Say everybody, lots of people. She won't speak to it, which is smart on her side, but it also makes her appear as not very nice. Anyway, so a lot of groups unhappy that Biden won't push things more, and I don't know what he's supposed to do. Thankfully, they don't either. These people know what to do. Yes, Michigan County pushes for hand recount of 2020 election results. They want to match the paper ballots with the electronic reporting of the paper ballots. And it doesn't really matter which county it is. All right, we're going to do just a couple of things, get into some God formation. Yes, excuse me. Excuse me again. The Delta variant. Israel says it's facing a new COVID-19 outbreak fueled by the Delta variant despite having the world's most vaccinated population. Doesn't bode well for the world, does it? I don't know. Israel having their own problems. We don't have time to get into that right now. So let's go to some God formation. And we'll have some again at the end. But this may take the rest of our broadcast. It is, I think it's going to be eye-opening. And let me, can't go into depth, but we're going to go into, a little bit of depth. We're going to weigh about 3 feet in, maybe 4 feet. Much of this is dismissed as conspiracy theory, but I assure you it is not. There are things that have happened that are beyond anybody's ability to really take in as fact. And I don't say, oh no, I believe it. But I mean, in order to act on it, and then how do you act on it? The Department of Justice isn't going to. No one in government is going to. And if they do, they're going to be treated like they're idiots. So, we start with this, and then it evolves as we go on. All right? And just some background. The committee, the people over Biden, over them, that are running things that he made a deal with to get in and be the pretend president, which he still thinks he's real president sometimes. They want things done. They're not happy with the White House staff. So, here we go. The talent are arriving. That's what they call the new advisors and lobbyists. Not lobbyists in the way you would think, independent people paid by governments and corporations, etc. No, these are special lobbyists. They work from the outside, but are very good at their work. They know how to get things done. They have orders from above, so no one stands in their way. And they are free to do as they see fit. That's big. They give honor to no one, so everyone in the regime hates them, but are afraid of them. There are so many that look down on the staff as ineffectual and lost in fantasy. These people are hardcore and live very practical, down in the dirt lives in the world of politics, and are doing whatever it requires to get their agenda through. These are the people behind the election, behind suspicious murders and disappearances, sudden changes of mind and ways, and many strange leaks and whistleblowers. They will sell out anyone if they get in the way. They sold out Clinton once, but then saved him after a deal was made. They do not care about appearances or even perception. They only care about their agenda. We're going to get into all this. They came to Trump, but he didn't believe. He didn't want to believe what they could do. He sent them packing, so they sent him packing. Literally. They care nothing for democracy, only use the word. They made the mistake in 2016 at the polls and made sure it didn't happen again. Okay? So, we'll throw that in at the end, I guess. All right. So let's get into the talent. These people, advisors from outside. They're on payrolls, but not necessarily the government payrolls. All right. So these are the people, and they were in existence before, but it was with Clinton that they really began to come to the forefront. All right. They helped him gain elections and everything. Because you have to understand, and if you're not old enough to remember, you can go back and look. There is no way Clinton should have won the first time, let alone the second time. I mean, this guy was out of it, and they helped him. They had already handpicked him. I remember watching the Democratic National Convention, the year when, who was run? Oh, Michael Dukakis was, sorry, trying to be serious, but just the mention of his name elicits laughter from me. It's funny. Michael Dukakis was running against George H.W. Bush, the lousy president with two middle names, Herbert Walker Bush. And Clinton gave up and gave one of the worst speeches in the world, very boring. And I looked and I said, he's their next guy. He will be president of the United States. Did the same thing with Obama. No, I did not pick Biden. I'm sorry. Missed on that one. But it was a different time. And I didn't understand what I later came to understand. Now, Clinton had a failed, in every way, and the only reason, and this was all part of it, excuse me, I'm very sorry. The only reason that the Democrats tricked George Bush into going along with taxes was to guarantee his loss. And his people were too dumb to even understand it, because Republicans over and over trust Democrats. I don't know why, but they really did back then. Ronald Reagan did, George Bush did, because they're always trying to look like good people. Well, you're not going to look like good people to them, but I get off subject. But even with that, Clinton was losing the campaign. So these people had to step in and help. And who did they turn to? They turned to the media. 60 Minutes. Let's see, where do we have everything? Don't have this set up as good as I like, I think. Okay, here we go. You might remember this if you're old enough. A much younger Bill and Hillary sitting across from Steve Croft as he asked them about all the information plaguing them, mainly on affairs. In 1990, the TV interview that haunts Hillary Clinton in 1992, she helped save Bill's candidacy, but the image Americans saw has hurt her ever since. I don't think that. I don't know. We don't have that. Yeah, that's when she said that she was, let me see. I didn't get that. Oh, yeah, here it is. I thought we had. We'll just go down here because of time. Hillary, in the interview, told Steve Croft, because Clinton came out about long-term affairs and all kinds of problems. Everybody in Arkansas knew. But the media wasn't really touching on that much. And Hillary said, I'm sitting here. I'm not sitting here, some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. Stand by your man. She said, wearing gold earrings and a black headband, perched next to him on a couch, him being Bill, in a hotel suite in Boston, and waving her clenched right hand. I'm sitting here because I love him and I respect him. How she got those words out, I'll never know. And I honor what he's been through and what we've been through together. And if that's not enough for people, then heck, don't vote for him. Well, that interview saved Clinton's candidacy. And these people helped him get in. Maybe not the same people, but the group, some of the same people. But they helped. They made it happen. They're facilitators. They help shape. All right? So then, even when this happened, Clinton had started backing off from following instruction. And then Monica Lewinsky happened. All right? And that's when they walked in and said, have we got a deal for you? That's right. Have we got a deal for you? We can save your presidency. We can save you. We can resurrect you. And he who had been kind of backing off suddenly said, okay. And part of the deal to keep Hillary in, because there was so much talk then about as soon as they got out of office, she was going to divorce him. She was through, because this couple, the Clinton couple, was very important. Not so much now, but was very important to what they saw as the success of the Democratic Party. Okay? So they promised her turn. Her turn. Now, obviously they're saying it can't be anytime soon. And you're going to have to get political on your own, etc. Start building your resume. But they promised her turn. Okay? But then what happened? Among other, and in the Clinton, go back and look at the history of the Clintons. I mean, there's so many things. You got murders, you got suicides, you've got, so even before people knew of anything today, obviously. I mean, this was back, way back in the 90s. Come on. Vince Foster committed suicide, who was also purported to be having an affair with Hillary. Many people just died. There's all kinds of corruption with these people. How they do it? They're just two people from Arkansas. This group helped. This group has helped make them. The Kennedy people. No, this is a different group than the group that got Kennedy. Okay? This is different. This is modern, pretty modern anyway. This is more recent time. And they're still working. They're still working. Because if they weren't, Trump would be in office right now. All right, so this happened. You might remember this, a little thing called Benghazi with Hillary, which should have tanked any chances she had.
Again, we were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator. Now,
hate to bring back bad memories. And of course, it did matter. It did matter. Why didn't they intervene? I mean, she used that to sidestep all other questions, which again should have tanked any chance at a candidacy. But, see, they had it fixed. If she would run, she would win. Okay? Now, all this leads up to where we're at now. All right? Even though this came out. 27-year-old DNC staffer Seth Rich shot, killed in Northwest D.C. He was mugged by a mugger that didn't take his watch, his billfold, his money, or anything. Just, the strangest mugging in history. But there's things going on. Even the family asked everybody to stop talking about it. And it wasn't because it hurt. It's because it was dangerous. There's a few things, if you're smart, you stay out of. One is the Las Vegas shooting. You notice even Trump dropped that pretty quick. Yeah, he did the bump stop thing. But everybody dropped that quick. You still don't hear anything on it. And I was warned not to delve into that, so I didn't. There's just some things you don't look at. The Seth Rich murder was one of them. Vince Foster's suicide, even though it's so-called investigated. There are so many areas with the Clintons that just go beyond anybody's understanding. Well, they are protected. Okay? They are protected. Even to the point of somebody who was recently in prison and under watch and yet somehow managed to kill himself. Yeah. Wow, how'd that happen? Cameras just happened to go off. That's weird, huh? The Clintons aren't part of a crime family. They are now. And see, even, I forgot this, they were told, even if you go along, Hillary will be president and your sweet little daughter will be taken care of, who very quickly got a huge contract with a news network. Little Chelsea became a multimillionaire. Plus, they also promised them donations into their foundation, which would make them mega wealthy. They did a lot for the Clintons because they needed them to further the Democratic plan. Not democracy, the plan of democracy, but their plan to work through the Democratic Party to further their plans, because GOP wouldn't let them. Okay, are you with me? So they paid off the Clintons, and the big promise was to Hillary, it's great, my little baby's rich and all that, and we love all the money coming in from the foundation that never was properly investigated. I mean, how hard was that? You get nations making big donations to their foundation, and then when Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State, things are done for those nations. Wow, that's just weird, huh? No, they were protected. That was the payoff. That's how come it's like, no, you let Obama go next. We need him in. You sit still, you develop yourself. All of this was arranged for them. But then something happened. The unthinkable happened. This upstart from New York City that everybody loved before on both sides of the aisle, Donald Trump, ran. People thought, oh, there's no way he'll win. See, what they wanted was a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz or even John Kasich, because they knew Hillary could beat them, especially Cruz. They knew Cruz would guarantee Hillary won because he's just not a likable character. All right, he's our senator from Texas. I'm telling you, people down here don't even like him that much. You know, he's just better than Beto or O'Rourke and others that Cruz has run against. He just, so that's the matchup they really wanted. But they had already made sure Hillary would win. But they miscalculated. Because what happened? At 2:30 a.m., this is the moment Trump captures Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes, putting him over the 270 delegate threshold. This happened, November 2016, right? And at 2:35 a.m., Hillary called and conceded. Okay? So, after losing Pennsylvania, which everybody's like, what? How did Hillary lose Pennsylvania? How did Trump win Florida? Well, what happened? There were mistakes made. One thing, the people behind it all expected the election to be wrapped up earlier and didn't monitor late returns coming in, so they could do nothing to countermand it. All right? So Hillary, that's how come Hillary kept saying, and still would say, she won. She knows she won. Not just popular vote. She knew that it was fixed for her to run. So that made people think what? Now, go with me on this, all right? If you are a thief and you're going to steal something and someone else ends up with it, what's your thought? They stole it. They stole it, and I know they did because I already had it stolen. Yeah. They are thieves, even though you were going to steal it. See, Hillary and company knew the election was already stolen, but they failed at it because nobody thought of Wisconsin. They really didn't think too much about Pennsylvania. They thought Florida would carry it all out. All right? And then life would be good. And they just assumed Pennsylvania. So they didn't do the work they should have done. They failed in Florida. They lost Pennsylvania. And then nobody thought about Wisconsin until it was too late to do anything about it because the returns were coming in so late. So these people who said we were stealing that election, okay? You with me? I know it sounds conspiracy type, but it's really not. Hillary was guaranteed to win. Now then, Trump wins, so they come to him. Now, they had already started the Russia thing, just it wasn't meant to go on. It was meant to stop people from voting for him. They released things about him and women and different things. But see, they already had trained the American people, don't worry about that. Don't worry about politicians and their affairs. So see, it came back on them. And Trump won anyway. So they're like, there's no way he won. They found a way to steal it, which Trump didn't even have the troops on the ground to steal an election. Okay, there's no way. He just won. They didn't do their job right. So immediately, these people coming in to help the White House get their stuff done now, immediately this organization, they begin working on the 2020 election because they're like, he steals better than we do in their minds. No, I do not think Trump stole the 2016 election. He won it. They miscalculated. Hillary has never gotten over that shock because it was guaranteed to her. And then, of course, they told her, there's no way you can get in right now. You can't go up against Trump again. There's no way. We've got to do some work to get somebody in. And so they picked Biden, whom they did not want to run after Obama. They did not. Now, I understand Hunter died. Sorry about that. He seemed like an okay guy, and it doesn't matter if he wasn't. Well, you don't want people to die. So how come you don't hang around the Clintons? You might die. All right? That's not funny. It's true. Okay. So they're telling Hillary not. But I've told you, they have in their minds a way to get Hillary in because they owe her. They owe her. And yet they haven't got it to work out yet because things keep changing and they can't really work their plan. So, what did they do? They began, you might remember this, we went over this right after it came out. I mean, the day that it came out, we did this, and I don't think very many people went to look at it. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election, where they outlined this, and they started on this because they thought from the beginning Trump was going to steal the election because they already think he had to have stolen 2016 because they were stealing it and he outstole them. And you say, wow. Well, that's what a thief thinks. If you end up with something, they stole it before I could, those thieves. And don't steal from a thief. They get vicious. Okay? Are we all together? So we have this. Sometime in the fall of 2019, and I'm telling you this was well before 2019, Mike Podhorzer became convinced the election was headed for disaster and determined to protect it. And, obviously we're not going to go over everything with that except this. 2019, the usual tools of data analytics and polling would not be sufficient in a situation where the president himself was trying to disrupt the election, he wrote. The Podhorzer guy. Or Horhurts, however you say it. Most of our planning takes us through election day, he noted, but we are not prepared for the two most likely outcomes. Trump losing and refusing to concede, and Trump winning the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote, which means nothing. It's a state-by-state contest. Popular vote means nothing. All right? It's just people throw it out there. By corrupting the voting process in key states. I don't know how he was going to corrupt the voting process in key states but that's what they said, meaning he's going to steal the election. So they said, we desperately need to systematically red team this election so that we can anticipate and plan for the worst we know will be coming our way. In other words, we've got to steal this before he can steal it. Okay? So what else did they do? To undermine him, they did the impeachment process over, they couldn't get Russia to work. They did the impeachment process over offering Ukraine quid pro quo. What presidents don't do that? And again, it's like we're going, they brought forth the whistleblowers. They orchestrated all of these leaks. But see, Trump made the novice mistake of thinking if the president says something, people do it. He'd tell Department of Justice to do things. They wouldn't do it. And then somebody would leak it and oh, he's not supposed to tell them what to do. All right? Are you with me? They started criminal investigations on him in his home state and home city. They did everything they could to keep him from winning the 2020 election. And even at that, they were convinced he was going to win or steal it. And I believe they really think he stole 2016. They thought he was going to steal 2020. That's the information. That's why they acted the way that they did. And so they set about ruining him, his family, everything to stop him from running. They thought he would get out of office and leave. Then they would call off the dogs. He wouldn't do it. He went out more determined. He wouldn't listen. He thought, I'm the president. You can't do this to me. And he found out, oh yeah, we can. So what'd they do? Last time in 2016, the returns came in late. It was too late to react. We were ready, but it came in too late. We are going to prevent this. We're going to stop counting at certain times. That way we know what we're doing. He may think he's a good election thief, but we're far superior because in the states where he needs it, we control it. And then the rest is history. That's what they did. That's what these people do. And now you understand all that's happening. You say, Danny, how in the world would they get Hillary in? Well, right now they don't trust Kamala Harris to do the right thing because they desperately want Biden out. They want Harris out. They have made arrangements with her, but she wants to be president. She wants Biden out. I told you not long ago, we've been told that she is ready to start talking about his capabilities, how bad they are, because she wants in. They don't want her in because they don't trust her. They don't like her and they don't trust her. And liking her secondary if she'd do what they wanted. They want Hillary in because they owe her. And Hillary and Bill have too much on them. So I've told you, Kamala's supposed to be made president and within a day or two resign. It's supposed to make Hillary her vice president. And then within a day or two say, you know what? Mrs. Clinton is more capable for this job than I am. I'm going to resign. And then I will go back to being where I belong right now. I think I'm ready to be president next. But right now, I belong as vice president. And after I resign, Mrs. Hillary Clinton will take the place she should have had in the beginning. Bam. Say, well, Hillary's so old. No, it doesn't matter. These people pay their debts. So these people they've already, they've been involved with White House, but they're sending people in now to make sure things really get done. And one of their favorite people is Susan Rice. She is involved in a lot of this. Remember her back to Benghazi. It's where they launched her. Again, that should have killed her politically. That she went out and lied about Benghazi. But no, these people, they just bring people back in. And the media works with them. This group is heavily tied into the media. You say, well, how would they do that? Because they have things on them. See, they have things on them. And so the media gives in. How did Matt Lauer stay in so long? How do some of these crumbs stay in so long? because they're protected. You say, Danny, this is just conspiracy theory. Okay, think what you want. Most of you know it's not. This is the reality of the U.S., and this is why people have to stand up and stay strong, and you've got to stay strong in your state first. The big problem a lot of people make, they just focus on the national politics. If you don't protect your state, we won't have anywhere to go, because the states control D.C. in as far as redistricting and electoral votes. So a lot to go on. All right, we'll finish up the God formation segment, and then we've got some time, so I've got plenty to bring you. But this is very important. These people are behind things. They're very dangerous. There's going to be a lot of things begin to happen, a lot of stuff that people won't understand. And they wanted that voting rights. They knew they weren't going to get it, but they're working. They're working. And it's not voting rights, it's For the People Act. It has no rights to it except to take away rights. But there's also a battle brewing between Ron Klain, Biden's chief of staff, and Susan Rice. And Susan Rice is in the forefront of this anti-crime movement, which is just another payoff for people that helped get the election through to funnel money into their cities, etc., etc. I mean, why are they bringing this up now at the same time these other people are coming in? Because they saw something they could use. Okay? Rice has the support of the committee, the people overseeing all this who actually call the shots. But Klain has Biden's support. Rice wants a bigger push on racial matters because they need that to help take over the country. Susan Rice, very big part of things. Wants a bigger push on racial matters and wants Biden to let go of his thoughts and just follow orders. Klain still wants Biden to have some dignity, and Harris, both of them to have some dignity, and Biden to have some honor with him. But the committee will decide, so I would think Klain's going to lose that one. But it just depends on who they need. They'll throw anybody away. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I got that in so I didn't run out of time at the end. You've got to remember, the surface doesn't count. What you see on the surface doesn't count. Jen Psaki is a distraction with all that she brings. There's things going on underneath. They are, I told you, when was it, last week? By 2050, we're supposed to be a basic communist country with some differences. They're working this out. They're trying to shut down the church, and they have succeeded in large part because the church helped shape the country. They're changing the moral norms of the country. You think it's by accident that Obama started bringing up transgender issues when most people didn't even know there were any? No. And they call media newsrooms and they say, oh, okay. Because they control so many. These are the people that got to John Roberts and changed who he was as a judge. If they have anything on you or your family members, they get to you. They want you to cooperate. Excuse me. They don't want to have to do things to you. Trump wouldn't cooperate. And some of them, I'm not just saying he's this fine, always perfect man. He didn't want to be told what to do. Biden's starting to have the same problem. And we'll see what comes up in the next few weeks to months. It's getting serious, ladies and gentlemen. And they are worried about the midterm elections. And they know if they lose the House and the Senate, they're in trouble. So they've got to act. Pray for the country. All right, where did we leave off? We left off at Israel having a Delta variant outbreak. And today we'll look at it and see if there's anything. It's I mean, just more of the stupid stuff they do. Oh, it's like, please, can you people just stop being the busiest regime ever? Just take a week off, please. Well, they're gonna stop the crime wave, which, you know, I've already told you, it's just a way to funnel money. They're even taking money from the American Rescue Plan that even some reporters ask about. How can you do that? Oh, it was always available for that. No, it wasn't. These people lie. They're just paying people off. Anyway, so there are some questions on it. I think. Where are we with that? All right. I'm not sure which one this is.
And then on guns, all advocates are saying there should be a gun czar. Is that something that's still being considered by the White House? One person that's responsible and spearheading this work on gun reform?
The president's responsible. Go ahead.
Because everything is based on the free-flowing, illegitimate gun sales and gun trafficking, which we didn't even know we had that problem. Well, the thief in chief is in charge. Now, there should be a gun czar because the thief in chief promised one of Texas's native sons back in the campaign in Dallas at Gilley's in Dallas, Texas, that he would be that man.
I'm going to guarantee you this is not the last you're seeing of this guy. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one who leads this effort. I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you. We need you badly. The state needs you. The country needs you. You're the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The already mentioned Beto O'Rourke. Of course, fact checkers have checked and said Biden didn't really promise him anything. That's when they thought Beto might help them win Texas. He didn't, so he got cast to the side. He should be the gun czar, which means we get to keep all our guns because that is one of the most incompetent people that ever walked on this earth. So it makes us say this to Biden. He just lied, and of course the fact checkers lied. But then Biden should know a lot about the illegal flow of firearms. You might recall, or maybe you won't, because it did not get a lot of press. Back during the Obama administration, a little program they called Fast and Furious, and they thought that was going to bring Obama down. Of course it didn't, because nothing was going to. Again, he was protected. Why a gun-running scandal, codenamed Fast and Furious, a program run secretly by the U.S. government that sent thousands of firearms over an international border and directly into the hands of criminals, hasn't been pursued by an army of reporters all trying to be the next Bob Woodward or Carl Bernstein or Stein, is a story in itself. But the state of modern journalism aside, this scandal is so inflammatory if you realize that official records show the current director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, B. Todd Jones, yes, the individual the Obama administration brought in to replace ATF Director Kenneth Meslam August 30th in an effort to deflect congressional criticism, also has questions to answer about his involvement in this gun-running scandal, which is what it was under the Obama administration. And to be fair, Biden wasn't really named, but how did he not know about it? Right? I mean, he was Obama's partner in crime, just as ATF, and then tell you what they did. They, Obama, I should have had that. Obama, early in his first term, was in Mexico, and Mexico routinely, if guns are taken in a crime. They think they came from the U.S. They send them for the U.S. to trace them to see where they belong. Well, Obama started saying that 90%, because he wanted gun control in our country, so he was in Mexico, and he said that 90% of all firearms involved in a crime in Mexico came from across the border from the U.S. Well, that wasn't even close to true. So a lot of people think the ATF and FBI and DOJ and everybody else got together to create a flow of weapons into Mexico to make Obama's case. All right? So they began to encourage and allow firearms dealers in Arizona and along the border to sell, even without doing background checks, which means the FBI was involved, to sell to shady characters and all kinds of things. Even a lot of ATF agents asked to stop this, and they wouldn't do it. All right? And then later, finally, it came out to the public because of this. Just as ATF agents feared on December 14, 2010, in the dark of night in a remote canyon in Rio Rico, Arizona, some of the firearms sent over the border to arm Mexican drug runners was used in a gun battle with the U.S. Border Patrol. During the gunfight, U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, 40, was killed by suspected operatives of a Mexican drug smuggling organization. After a battle that U.S. Border Patrol officers started by shooting beanbags at smugglers armed with AK-47s, police arrested 4 suspects and recovered 3 firearms from the scene that have since been traced to Fast and Furious. All right, Dodson's great fear had become reality. He had said before the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee, we knew the next time we'd see these guns would be at crime scenes, and not the first crime these guns were used in, but not the last either anyway. All right, so that was happening, and then another death. Then on February 15th, 2011, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Jaime Zapata, was murdered in Mexico. The Associated Press reported on February 28th, based on an unnamed source, that the weapon used to kill Zapata, was shipped through Laredo with the possible knowledge of the ATF, and in fact it was, because the Obama regime were gun runners. That's large part why Benghazi happened and why Ambassador Stevens was there. They were running shipments of weapons to sites they weren't supposed to be. But we go way off course. So Biden should be in charge of guns. He knows a whole lot about people obtaining guns illegally. They did it under his watch. And you can say, well, that's not fair. Why isn't it? Why isn't it? I think it's fair because we have this, I think, from Peter Ducey about the crime talk today.
And just one about the crime today. You mentioned expanding
the crime prevention rollout.
Prevention, yes, the crime. But there is a lot of crime in big cities. How do you reduce?
Much of it caused by gun violence. Would you agree?
Yes. So how do you reduce gun violence by expanding employment opportunities, including summer jobs for young people?
Well, first, there's several components of this proposal. One of them is an initial set of actions on gun violence, or an additional set, I should say, of steps on gun violence, which the president feels are important to get guns off the streets, make sure they are not in the hands of people illegally, many of whom are playing a role in violent crime across the country. That's part of his objective. He also wants to provide, as we've seen, has been effective in communities across the country, incentives and alternatives for young people in communities where that has shown to be an effective step.
So is the thought there basically that some criminal who has been committing crimes with limited interruption or interference from police for the last couple of weeks or months is going to stop this easy life of crime if they have a summer job?
Well, I think the president believes that we shouldn't allow access to guns to those criminals who are currently illegally buying them from some dealers across the country. And part of his announcement is taking steps to do exactly that. But part of his announcement is also ensuring there's specific guidance to communities across the country to ensure that they have funding to get more community police around the country. Something that was supported by the American Jobs Plan that was voted into law by Democrats just a couple of months ago. Some might say that the other party was for defunding the police. I'll let others say that, but that's a piece. Go ahead.
Jen told a big lie there at the end. First of all, I think she meant the American Rescue Plan. Second of all, Republicans are not for defunding police. It's their side. Now, not Biden. He's for curtailing their powers and stop, allowing people to sue them. But certainly the Republicans are not about defunding police, which she gets this award for the day.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you, sir?
But Peter Ducey, I love that. So you think you give somebody a summer job, they're going to lead their soft, easy life of crime because police aren't doing anything? Gotta love Ducey. I think we got more from him as we go on. Oh, and how much time do we have? Should we do this or that? Or maybe all of it? I'll tell you, we'll do this first and then come back to that. And you're like, do what? What? What's that? You'll find out, maybe. Guess who is going to be lost and found in a border town? Kamala Harris is finally set to visit the border. Yes, just announced today. Hot off the press. Hot off the wire, as they used to say. I don't know why it was hot. But anyway, Kamala Harris going to El Paso City by the Rio Grande. Vice President Kamala Harris is heading to the U.S.-Mexico border this week amid an unrelenting chorus of criticism from Republicans over her failure to visit there. Now, you do notice she is going to El Paso and not in the Del Rio or Donna area of Texas and places like that, where there would be much more for her to see. But also someone else is going down in that area later, as we will find out from Peter Ducey, which we already knew. But Harris, who was tasked by President Joe Biden to lead diplomatic efforts to stem the flow of migrants arriving on the southern border, will visit El Paso, Texas on Friday, according to sources familiar with the trip. She will be accompanied by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the constantly crying man. At least he talks like that. Simone Sanders, the vice president's senior advisor and chief spokeswoman, confirmed the trip in a statement, saying earlier this year the president asked the vice president to oversee our diplomatic efforts to address the root causes of migration from El Salvador. And understand, she did not want this. This was forced on her. She doesn't like doing this, as you can tell. She didn't want it, and he just stuck her with it, and she can't get out of it. El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, as part of this ongoing work, the vice president traveled to Guatemala and Mexico earlier this month and will travel to El Paso on Friday. Well, the press, first of all, what do we have to say to her, Rod Ruddy?
Angela Fuentes,
Come on down. down, but not Angela Fuentes. Kamala Harris, come on down. Yeah, come on down to the border. All right, so Peter Ducey has a doozy of a question.
Announcement. Why is the vice president visiting the border this week when earlier this month she dismissed a trip like that, saying it would be a grand gesture?
She also said in an interview with NBC that she would be open to going to the border if it was an appropriate time. She said that after she said that. So that's important context as well.
And important context, I've got the NBC interview right here. She was talking about how she hasn't been to the border. She hasn't been to Europe either. So does she think that these two things are the same?
And again, Peter, I think she also said in the same interview that she would be open to going to the border at an appropriate time. And what I'm conveying to you is that, well, as a part of her assignment, she's, of course, hosted a number of bilateral engagements. She's visited the Northern Triangle. She's made a number of announcements about how to address root causes that was going to assess with the Department of Homeland Security and with the administration when it was the appropriate time to go. And I will note that we're at this point in part because we've made a great deal of progress. And if you look just to a couple of months ago when 6,000 children were in Border Patrol facilities, we're now at the point where there's far less than 1,000. If you look to just a couple of months ago when there were children who were waiting in Border Patrol facilities for more than 100 hours and they were certainly overcrowded, now it's less than 30 hours. In April, there were 22,000 kids in HHS facilities, and now that number is 14,000. Is there still more work to do? Absolutely. That's the purview of Secretary Mayorkas, but it's important every component of our government is coordinated.
Was it important for the White House to have her seen at the border before former President Trump has a trip there next week?
We made an assessment within our government about when it was an appropriate time for her to go to the border.
Of course, even the reporter next to Peter Ducey asked with the next question, come on, this is political, isn't it? How can people be sure? Oh, no, it's not political. We don't have anything to do with Trump. We don't, Anyway, so Kamala Harris going ahead of Trump's visit, but to stay on the border just a moment, another reporter asked this because she mentioned their progress at the border. So we run down to the border for this question. Oh, wait a minute. Don't go away. Jeez. You don't put them on first and then get an attitude.
You said that a great deal of progress has been made. Border Patrol statistics show something close to 900,000 interactions or encounters on the southwest border so far this fiscal year. 170,000 odd per month, the last 3 months. Is that where you're measuring progress? You spoke of the unaccompanied minors, but what about the influx of people? The vice president was tasked with the diplomatic efforts there. Has that been successful? And how are you measuring that success?
Well, first, I think the vice president has made a number of announcements about coordinated efforts with countries in the region, in the Northern Triangle, through her leadership in that area. And we'll be able to assess over time what it looks like in terms of migration numbers. I was pointing to the fact that a couple of months ago, we were looking at very overcrowded Border Patrol facilities. We were looking at kids waiting for far too long in those facilities, and there being a timeline of getting kids to vetted family members that wasn't up to our bar. There has certainly been progress made in that regard, but the work is ongoing.
Because they never really speak about progress at the border. They only speak about progress after people have crossed the border. And the only reason they're getting these kids out of detention is because they're letting people who are here illegally come and get them without fear of deportation, arrest or deportation. They're just facilitating. They haven't changed anything on the border. It's just on our side of the border. So everybody knows it, but they let her keep saying, oh no, I was just talking about the kids in centers. But stop the kids from coming. We don't want to do that. We're going to make it easier. Okay, we have this too, and I think we can wrap up the day with this. by the host. Pretty slick, huh? Just came up with that. Okay. Mr. Vladimir Putin, you know, the guy, if the world just won't seem to be nice, he will, because he cares what the world thinks. You know, mister, we're just waiting. You're going to be so nice, aren't you? Need Will Ferrell to talk about that. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said the 2014 overthrow of Ukraine's then president, Viktor Yanukovych, was the result of a coup organized by the U.S. and backed by the rest of Europe. Or that would have been under Obama, wouldn't it? Unless I miss my time frames there. Yanukovych, or however, was removed from office following an uprising by his country's opposition, spurred by his rejection of a trade deal with the EU in favor of closer ties with Moscow. In an op-ed in the German newspaper Die Zeit, to mark the 80th anniversary of the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union, which ushered the Red Army's entry into World War II, dumbest thing Hitler ever did, the Russian president reiterated the position of the Kremlin and Yanukovych, a Putin ally, that the revolution had been facilitated by the West. I don't think he cares if anybody likes him or not. That's just my thought. Putin wrote that the West had promoted mutual distrust with Moscow following the end of the Cold War with NATO expansion, in which post-Soviet and Eastern European countries were given a choice to side with the West or with Russia. In fact, it was an ultimatum, Putin wrote. The consequences of such an aggressive policy can be seen in the example of the Ukrainian tragedy of 2014, he said, which Europe had actively supported. And they did. Why did you need to do this, he said in the piece, which was also released on the Kremlin website. Why did the United States organize a coup, he wrote. Now, he's saying this because everybody, keeps blaming him for meddling in our elections. So, why did the countries of Europe weakly support it, provoking a split in Ukraine itself and the withdrawal of Crimea from its composition? Well, Crimea didn't really withdraw, Mr. Putin. You kind of took them. But anyway, what's a slice of land, more or less? He added in his description of Moscow's annexation of the peninsula that year. Newsweek has contacted Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs for comment. Well, who was the vice president during this time? Oh, Joseph R. Biden Jr. was the vice president, and whose son and what other politicians became rich from this move? Oh, Joe's son, what's Hunter's the one that died. Who's that? Oh, Bo, yeah, oh, Bo. No, Hunter's the one Bo died. I'm sorry, I had them mixed up. Hunter, yeah, the new artist. You know, get a Hunter Biden original, Bo. He seemed like the good one. It's a shame. But anyway, could we have had anything to do with that? But I don't think Putin's caring if we like him too much, as we find from this question.
Any comment on on Russia firing warning shots and dropping bombs to chase a British warship out of the waters? Moscow now claims that in the Black Sea that they claim belongs to Russia.
I would point you to the British. We don't have any more comment on it from here.
And one.
So, Russia bringing up the Ukraine revolt from 2014 and now firing on British ships that are in their disputed waters. I'm just thinking Putin doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. That's just, I don't know. Maybe Biden can pull it off. We'll see. We'll find out more tomorrow, won't we? We'll have more look at Biden's genius crime prevention. You know, every time he gets involved in crime prevention, things get worse. If you'd like to help us out, there's the Venmo information to help support our little endeavor here. Thank you for watching. Please share a lot of information. I mean, share just to get people caught up with the God Formation segment. You know, it's real, folks. It's real. And it's not going to stop unless we make our voices heard. God bless America. Pray for one another. Pray for the country. Again, thank you for watching. Please share and share freely. You can even just say the things I say. I won't be upset. Long as the word gets out. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.